sorry for the interruption. I have 3 cars that are parked outside on grass that is not our property, and I need them moved. One of them is licensed, it's a Lexus, license plate SE Joy. And the other one is a Ford Focus, license plate AV61640. And then the third one is a Ford Expedition, license plate AC33880. And it is after 5, so it's a little far, but you can use the Yale Peabody lot, which is up the street. Sorry. Thank you.
All right.
Sorry to be a downer.
That's important. You don't want another meeting.
here, I was from breast cancer awareness month walking around. This thing is a whole color. This thing is not a whole color. Spring. It was basically done in October. So that's what I went to the cancer center. What? Pink shirt too. Okay. We're going to be starting shortly. So if you guys want to grab some seats and get comfortable, we're going to start the program very shortly. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jose de Jesus, and I am currently the treasurer of the Hill North Management Team. And along with Dr. Pam, we want to welcome everyone here to this beautiful event. Again, I'm born and raised in the city of New Haven, the Hill. I still live on Congress Avenue. Mr. Harris knows many of my family members. Also, my wife's grandfather is a pastor of the Church 3 of Arch Street. Door of Salvation now is her uncle Ariel Martinez is the pastor. But we've been in the Hill many, many years. My grandfather came after World War II here, so we've been here for a minute here in the Hill section in New Haven. So we'd like to welcome all of you guys. And also, the next person that's going to be coming up is, for opening remarks and tributes, Dr. Edward Joyner from New Haven Board of Education. Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First of all, I just want to give a shout out to some people. There are always people behind the scenes. Sometimes you never see them. But without them, certain things wouldn't get done. And in some ways, the entire Monk family is like that. And Pastor Morrison is a monk. I have monk relatives. And it's so important for us to recognize, particularly Dr. Pamela. Is she here? Where is she? So, her hand is in everything that's good in this city. And I would say that for her sisters and her brothers. And actually the people in this room. Don Morrison is someone that has always advocated for the least of his brethren and sisters. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, way back in the day. Back in the day. There's a young fella in the room that I've known since he was probably in middle school that has risen to the highest levels of leadership in the NAACP. Even though Carla's my favorite Esdale, I tell her that all the time.
Mine too.
There you go.
Yeah, mine too.
My favorite Esdale. But my my favorite Esdale male is Walt, and then this young man right here. And it's a great family. And then of course, one of my all-time favorite students is the president of NAACP, Ms. Dory Dumas. Now, what I like to do is, I can't say enough about Fred Harris. And before we left today, I asked him, I said, do you have Southern roots? He said, my mother's from Williamston. I played football against E.J. Hayes High School in Williamston. And that's also, if you remember a movie called Remember the Titans? Coach Herman Boone was a coach at E.J. Hayes High School. And it was the site of a lot of civil rights efforts in the state when Golden Franks, who was the state president of the NAACP, began to push back against the Ku Klux Klan and all those other things that we experienced growing up in the South. And so when I ask people what their roots are, I'm not being nosy. And I'll tell you why. There's a book called Help Me Find My People. and it's by Heather Andrea Williams. And if you know, people of African descent were separated multiple times.
Yeah.
The first time we were separated was when we were sold into slavery from Africa. And an unpleasant truth is that we were slaves in Africa before we were slaves in America. A lot of people don't, we can't blame white folks everywhere. And then once we were put on slave ships, in many instances, they would spread us throughout North and South America. And so you might have relatives in South America, in Brazil, you might have relatives in the Caribbean, you might have relatives up and down the Atlantic coast, and what have you. And if you do DNA, you can find that you have people that are related to you don't even know.
Yeah.
And so when I see a person, I always want to know where they're from. And because I do genealogy, if Fred will tell me his mother's maiden name, if you don't already have that research, I'll try to find it. The reason that's important is because North Carolina sent just as many slaves that fought in the Union Army as Confederates. And not only that, it was a Unionist community, meaning that there were a lot of white people that did not believe in slavery, and they were part of that. So it's really important because that embodies what Fred is. And as I said this morning, the cry of the Panther Party was black power to black people, white power to white people, brown power to brown people, red power to red people, and yellow power to yellow people, power to the people. And when Mr. Harris was in New Haven, the music was even about it. Right?
Yeah.
Ball of confusion.
Yeah. What's going on?
What's going on? What's happening, brother? All of that. And our kids were, Dory grew up listening to that. Scott grew up listening to that. He wasn't listening to you as a big fine woman once you back that thing up. And Curtis Mayfield, we're a winner. Never let anybody say we can't make it because a feeble mind is in our way. No more tears we will cry. We finally dried our eyes. We're moving on up. Lord have mercy. We're moving on up. Keep on pushing. And so that was the time that was message to the music. And there was no beef between Curtis Mayfield and Marvin Gaye. They should be on the same shows. There was no beef. And they weren't beating women, at least in public. I never saw Marvin hit anybody. He was a little late for that concert in Atlantic City, but about 3 hours. He was doing something he had no business doing, but he showed up. And so it's really important for us when we meet each other to try to find out, where are you from? Because the reunification that Fred Harris did in the Hill was so powerful because we had been separated. And he was bringing people together. The greatest thing you can do as a human being is to bring the human family together. And I don't want to get too emotional because Fred got a little emotional. He's talking about his mom. Yeah. I hear you, bro. I hear you. Because we don't give women enough credit for the roles that they played in our salvation. When my wife would come up from Greenville, North Carolina, which is 28 miles from Williamson, she would stay on Columbus Avenue. And so that was her first experience in New Haven. It was in the Hill. And when I worked at CPI, I worked with Bummy Moore. I worked with all those programs in the Hill. What's his name? The first narcotics program, Martindale. All those guys, they were legends in New Haven. And there was a level of solidarity that we don't have now that we must reclaim if we're going to make it. The other point I want to make, I have about 2 more. There was a play at that time called Day of Absence. It was by a playwright called Douglas Turner Ward. And the play was a satire of what would happen in a southern town if all the black folks were not present. And of course, it was in the period right after, a little bit after the Civil War. So there are some lines in the play that the shoes weren't shined, the babies weren't fed, the meals weren't cooked, and so on and so forth. But if you bring that up to the 60s, and you look at someone like Fred Harris, ask yourself, what would the hill look like if he had never been there? In fact, if he had never been there, his son would never be here. And any other human being that he touched would have been different. Because he was the kind of man that cared more about the suffering of others than he did for himself. That's deep. And he still had enough left for his children, his wife, and everybody around. He's one of the bravest souls you'll ever meet. And then, of course, most of us, when we were growing up in the 60s, we used to read comic books. We had Superman, we had Batman, Black Hawk, The Flash, and then when Marvel came around, we finally got a Black Panther. But guess what? I love Chadwick Boseman. I wish he was still with us. But he was playing a fictitious character. The real Black Panther is sitting right at that table. In fact, you should tell your children you will not find your heroes in comic books, on TV, or in the movies. You might be inspired by them. I remember trying to fly at one point with a little cape that I had put on, and it didn't work. In fact, I almost killed myself. But if I would imitate Fred Harris's behavior, and I think I have in my own field, education, then I will have made some difference. And James Baldwin said this, but I used to think that it wasn't true. He said the world is held together by a small group of people. But looking at where we are now, and the fact that we might be on the verge of the greatest collapse of democracy in the history of the world, there are only a small group of people that are holding it together. And if you could visualize January 6th, with all the ones that are chirping now about this and that, running down the halls, the Jeff Hawley dash, and all these people trying to get away from harm's way, and look who was leading them to safety. A predominant group of black men and white men and Latino men were leading those people to safety. How could you not appreciate that? If you look at our nation's wars, from Crispus Attucks all the way up to the present, for the first time in history, you have a Secretary of Defense that's black and a Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff that's black. There are a lot of people who don't like that. But it is because of the efforts and courage and compassion and humility of people like Fred Harris over space and time that at least we have a fighting chance. And so, Pam, you did the best thing that you could do to bring this man back here to this community. And there's a debate about whether he was run out of town or whether it was a strategic withdrawal. I think I argue for strategic withdrawal because he might not even have known why he was leaving, because it's shut up in his bone. He is a will-o'-the-wisp. For someone to be like him and have a profound effect on this city that resonates today, that's a special man. And so I'll leave you with the quote from En Vogue: "What a man, what a man, what a mighty good man."
All right. Next, we're going to have come up Miss Sophie Edelstein. She's a co-organizer with Dr. Pam. Sophie, come on up.
Hello, everyone. So I'm actually going to keep this quite brief because I know that we went into a lot of the history this morning, but I'm so grateful that all of you are here with us today. And instead of talking about the history, I'm actually going to talk a little bit about how this project came to be. So I think it was about November, I had reached out to one of the local organizers here. His name is Billy Bromage, and he said to me, "So if you're doing work on the Hill, you have to talk to Pamela Mug Kelly." So I reached out to Dr. Pam, and Dr. Pam said, "Well, if you're going to talk to me, you have to talk to the rest of my family." So I talked to the rest of Dr. Pam's family, and I met the wonderful Mug family, and we realized that we had many connections in all of these different places. And then I was telling Dr. Pam about all of the wonderful things I had uncovered that Mr. Fred Harris did in the archives here in New Haven. And Dr. Pam said, "Well, I was just talking to Carla, and I think we could find a way to bring Mr. Harris back to New Haven." And so I said, "Okay, let's do it." And so that's where this project sort of launched from. And we were like, we're gonna create an exhibit, we're gonna have a street corner named. And I actually first came to learn about Mr. Harris's work in the archives of the Connecticut Mental Health Center. So as I talked about this morning, Mr. Fred Harris served as the community advocate at the Connecticut Mental Health Center. And one of my favorite things that he did there was stand up to the institution. He told Fritz Redlich that enough was enough and he needed to put Fritz in his place. And so that's what he did, and the rest is history. And so now, we will, this summer, be having the street corner of South Greenwich and Park right outside the Connecticut Mental Health Center named Fred Harris Way in your honor. And for reminding people like me that there's a lot of power in community organizing, and there's a lot of power in doing what's right. So, thank you.
All right, and now we're going to have a small musical interlude with Mr. Darwin Monk Flake. Here it is. All right.
I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, like that river I've been running ever since. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. See, I go to the movies and I go downtown. Somebody always telling me don't hang around. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. Then I go to my brother. I say, brother, help me please. But it winds up just knocking me right back down on my knees. Oh, there was times when I would think I wouldn't last too long, no. Now I know that I can carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. Thank you very much.
All right, powerful, powerful, beautiful, beautiful. All right, now we're gonna have Mr. Gary C. Monk and the Monk family come on up and say a couple of words.
Good afternoon, everyone. You should be all really smiling. How often is it that you have the opportunity to honor your hero? Mr. Harris, I thank you for taking our invitation and coming here and receiving the love that we want to give to you. And they're not going to give me enough time, so I'll just cut it about 5 minutes, all right? So here's the thing. I want to honor my mother and father, Conley Monk and Olivia Monk, for because of them, they have us to be the individuals that we are. But one of the key things that they told us is how to read people. And so Mr. Harris was an example of a leader, or is an example of a leader. As a matter of fact, he's an example of a legend, because that's what he is here for us today. And I want you to get that Mr. Harris had the fire in the belly that the average brother right now don't carry. So what he did was he instilled in young brothers like myself. He didn't have any idea, I was a kid. But I was watching what he did and the impact he had on our neighborhood. And so, we go through a little story with you. I went to Prince Street School with his children, Rhonda Madeira, right? So, also Black Panther Party was always busy, doing something, you know. That hot food program, I was a recipient. The toiletician in Prince Street School, I was a recipient. But most of all was the love for the children, the attention that he gave to them to make sure that they were empowered. And from Prince Street School, I actually watched a couple of my brothers get imprisoned for the riots. Yeah, they was being part of the purpose. They was making sure that they gave. And at the time, my parents were upset. They didn't know what was going to happen to my brothers. They didn't know when they were being held, what have you. But now I understand that that good trouble was necessary to get the attention, to forward the conversation, to put the illegal construct where it belongs, behind us, because that's all it is, right? But he showed that. He showed that. How to be a leader. Now, to be a leader, you have to have vision. And you have to know the plan, and you have to know what you're creating. And inside of his vision, he created so many different things for us that, again, we didn't know as children. But now we're benefiting from it. The Hill Health Center, the mental health. Just different things that we didn't know or put in perspective. So, you know, during that time, after the riots, well, during that time, you heard Black and Proud, James Brown, you heard the revolution would not be televised, it'd be live, it'd be in your living room. And it was true. This is what we were living at this time. So I just wanted to say, if I was to give Mr. Harris a title, I would give him the King of the Hill. Yeah, we were in the Hill, and he definitely was the king. And you know what he did? he showed himself worthy that they had imprisoned him at one time and had to take him out because he was that powerful. He would have been the only person that could quell the city. And they did that. So if that doesn't let you know his cool card was that heavy, he really had it going on like that in New Haven. But I want to go back. His family, his life was always on the line. He was willing to take a bullet for any of us in the neighborhood. He was our shield. He was our protector. He made sure that things went down correctly. He made sure that the kids were safe. His program was really from the heart. And see, it wasn't just about a black thing. This guy, he had humanity in his heart. He knew that for the whole New Haven, the whole world to work actually, everybody had to work together. That we all had to be one. And that you really, really, really had to be down with the cause. It didn't matter what color you were. It was where your heart was. So Mr. Harris stood for the unspoken, the downtrodden. He was the voice for the people that didn't have a voice. And I think that Mr. Harris got to admit, a lot of people thought he was about 8 feet tall because he was really that, I mean, the space that he took up in terms of power, he walked like a giant. And his footprints, I don't know if they have his shoe size right now, because I don't know many brothers that could fit his shoe size right now. His conviction was that heavy. So with that being said, I just want you to get, Mr. Harris, the impact that you had on me directly. And I don't, you know what, I don't even think about it, I just do it. But your spirit, you have spoken to my spirit in such a way that right now, I'm an executive director of National Veterans Council of Legal Redress. And what that really is about was getting the rights for veterans that they've been given bad papers and they didn't get their benefits, et cetera. So it's another form of right and wrong. But inside of that, we have that it doesn't go together that any veteran should be homeless. So we're creating housing for veterans as we speak. And if you didn't see the table downstairs, everyone, when you came in, that's our organization. You can give a donation, but that's not what I'm speaking about. I'm speaking about Mr. Harris, that you put that on us, that we know that there should be housing for everyone, but definitely for the veteran, because they did just a little bit more than the average person, that their birthright is to have everything here in America, but we went off to war and so forth, and so we shouldn't be without. And then, Mr. Harris, another thing that I'm working with is the Fair Rent Housing Commission. I bring that up too, because again, there are people that don't have the money to fight their landlords or these big corporations and so forth, excuse me. So sitting on that panel, I'm able to work with the powers to be to make sure these people are served correctly. And then finally, I just want to say I've been mentoring kids since I could remember. You know, it's a thing of exposure. You sitting in one of my, I call this my classroom, I used to take kids to museums all the time, because, you know, it was like, no, it's a taboo, I want to go to the museum, it's corny. Go one time with me. If you don't like it, you don't have to go back. But they always came here and got enrichment. If you look on the walls, you see different things of our history, etc. So it's important that we do this. And in closing, I just want to say a couple things. You know, there's an African adage that says, in your youth, you stood in a certain position in your youth, and in your adulthood, you sit as a senior. And I didn't quote it verbatim, but basically it's saying as a youth, you stand in a certain position, and as an adult, you become a senior, and that same position, if you make it to that age. So, as my suit scream out that it's golden, I just want to let everybody know it's a golden moment. If I could put it in a bottle, I would. I just want to thank you, Mr. Harris, and that the last thing is your legacy. It's not always from your grown. It's not always your biological. We are your children too. And so, your legacy may not be you, it may be me, because I'm going to carry you on. And so they're going to know you because of me, because you're in my spirit. So I just want you to get that we are your children that have gotten some of your blessings. So, Mr. Harris, trying not to be emotional, but I just want to let you know I'm Fred Harris too.
All right. Up next we have Miss Carla Esdell Bragg from Cornell Scott Hill Health Center.
Good evening. Good evening. This is just warming my heart. I told Mr. Harris I prayed for this day. I am here really representing Cornell Scott Hill Health Center because I am the Director of Marketing and Community Relations. I represent my CEO, Michael Taylor, Board of Directors, of which Nathan Jones is here with me this evening. More than 700 staff in the patient community, but really I want to talk to him from my heart, from me. Because, first of all, I remember the Hill Health Center as a child. My uncle was a physician in the Dixwell neighborhood, and he talked about it all the time. Remember him bringing me and Scott there as young kids, and he volunteered his time there. He wanted us to see him in service. So I had that memory. Later on in life, I remember a period of time I didn't work for 18 months, and my kids got sick, and that health center took care of me and my kids. It's true, it's factual. You gotta be transparent. That health center was there for us. And then later in life, my more mature years, I took custody of my grandson, who was 7 months old, and I had to change jobs in order to be a foster parent, grandparent. And I had to change my job. And Andrea Lobo, your niece, had been wanting me to come to the health center for many years, and there just was never an opportunity. But God made a way, and the door opened up, and I walked right on through into this wonderful position. And in that position, a few years after I got there, I was bestowed upon me to begin working on our 50th anniversary. And it was then that I began to study the history. And I remembered as a kid all the conversation in our home, in my grandparents' home, in my friend's home, about all the work that you had done. Because you were a rock star. Someone said that earlier today, and it was true. And I remember the conversations. But I didn't really know the history until I started studying it. I found that book on you. I had a conversation with Professor her mom, Professor Ann Robinson. I met with her for about 2 hours, and she talked to me about how the health center came together, and she told me to get that book. I bought the last copy on Amazon. And I began to look at the pictures. I put together bins. I have a bin for every single 10-year period of the health center, which you could never have imagined when the Hill Parents Association and you and Ms. Rose sat down. We are now serving 55,000 people. There's 7 primary care locations, including one in West Haven and Ansonia. There's 21, soon to be 23 school-based health centers. And that's where your major concern came from. So really, your vision, your legacy, like living it. And I don't take that lightly. Community outreach is under my direction. And so when I'm attending community meetings, you are there with me. Because I'm always thinking, about access to healthcare. Because the truth is, you can build what you want to build. That doesn't mean the people are going to walk through the door. You have to create relationships and partnerships. You got to be a trusted messenger, and you got to be transparent and truthful and honest. And I know that that is who you were. I learned it from my grandparents. I learned it from my parents. I learned it from my family. I learned it from my little brother. It's very important to be authentic, and people have to really understand that it's real. And so what I command from my team is just that. But I have your picture in my office. I have your book in my home. I read a little bit of it every month. I take it very personally. I feel accountable to you and the others from the Hill Parents Association because you fought so hard for this. I found a picture of a ambulance. And I look at the picture, and the picture, everybody looks so happy. And I was like, wow, I wonder why they had an ambulance. Well, they had an ambulance because nobody was going to stop. A regular ambulance was not going to stop and pick up people of color. You had to get to the emergency room the best way you could. But we're so comfortable in our skin right now, we take a lot of things for granted because that fight is not there anymore. But there's other fights. And it does get uncomfortable. Even in my role, I'm a director, but I watch my senior leadership and they are fighting to keep it alive. They are really fighting to keep access available. And it's not easy. It really is not. A lot of times people see that, we're opening a new spot. That does not mean that they have money. They take a loss with every single patient. But I just wanted you to know from my heart that you are with me all the way. And I'm so appreciative of what you did and what you continue to do, because he said it, I am Fred Harris too. Thank
All right, our next speaker will be Mr. Donald Morris, Executive Director of Christian Community Commission, Pastor Life Kingdom Outreach Ministry, and former member of the Hill Neighborhood Corporation. All right.
First of all, I'd like to give honor to God and for allowing me to be able to be here tonight. And also, being able to know that Brother Freddie Harris was coming back to the city. I had to be here tonight, but if it had not been for my cousin, Pam Monk, Dr. Monk now, and the Monk family, my last name would have been Donald Monk, for mother didn't get married and became a Morris. And so I was grateful that Pam had, along with everyone else, to organize this particular event for my brother. When I walked in the room a little while ago, I don't know exactly what I was expecting to see in the terms of the look of the old Freddie. And he still looks the same. He just got white hair, that's it. And for me to see little Freddie, I hadn't seen little Freddie since he was this big, where I took a picture of them on Congress Avenue with a whole group of other young people. Tony Dawson was there. We took it on the corner of Congress and Baldwin. That was 1978. And the reason we took the picture is that we brought all the young people to the corner, and along with the Hill Neighborhood Corporation, Roger Everson, Kenny Cancer, Tommy Battles, Rose was there actually, who was a great, great friend of mine and a great woman, a great stand-up woman, a great warrior, a great foundation. And so when I came in, I was looking to see someone else, but I still see Brother Freddie with that gentle look upon him. Sometime when you're a revolutionist, some people look for you to have a frown face, a strong face, like you want to hurt somebody or do something. And we had that crew. There was that crew. Yeah. Well, there was that crew. Yes, sir. And I remember, in the 1960s, what made the Freddie Harris's relevant beyond sometimes what we can understand. In the 60s, I guess when I was kind of hanging out with Freddie, I was like 19, 20 years old. When you were a young man in the 60s, if you were 15, 16, and 17, at that particular time, you was considered a man during that time. Because everything that we did, we took serious about what was happening in the country. That year, that 10-year tenure, from 1960 to 1970 were crucial years, because all around the country, you could turn on TV and you could see people in the South struggling for freedom and civil rights, dogs biting, marches with Martin Luther King. And up in New York City, you had Malcolm X, you had Martin, in the South. And what would happen is that when we would see these things on television, moving on up, all the things that had already been said, moving on up, and all the Motown came out, songs that came out, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud by James Brown, and the brothers went to the Olympics, and what it was when they won the medals. All three of them, rather than put their hands on their heart, they all stood in the air and they put the Black Power sign. the sign was to tell us that we were to stand up. The power was the sign that, yes, we're here, we won, and we represent our brothers and sisters that are struggling. Freddie in the Hill area was like the Fred Hamptons. He was like the Malcolms. He was like, you know, the H. Rap Browns, the Huey Newtons, and all of them that were across the country. They just weren't in New Haven, but Freddie was the emblem of that. And what it was is that, you know, during the time when the struggles came in New Haven, especially when Martin Luther King got killed, you know, on Congress Avenue, it was in 1978. Malcolm got killed in 75. Freddie Hampton got killed in 1979. But us losing our brothers like that on TV, we were seeing it. What it is, there was two illustrations I wanted to be able to give about that, about Freddie. He had that strong arm crew around him, believe it or not, because we loved him like that. And we protected him like that. But he was smart. He was articulate. He had eyes to see what we were up against, and he knew that, you know, that it was a time where the struggle was so deep, so hard, that, like, you know, we wanted to write, we wanted to do something because we were hurt, we were seeing things that hurt us, and, you know, we didn't know what to do, and, you know, our emotions were high, and then I think Mayor Lee was the mayor of the city at that time, and we were struggling with him about getting open doors through the schoolings were bad, and the healthcare situations were bad, and that's all he thought about. When a man goes to sleep, and we all wake up the next day with responsibilities of where we're going, what we're going to do, you know, that's one thing. But when a man wakes up and thinks about what is his people going to do, when he's trying to see more about what's going to happen that next day. So I want to just tell a little story about what did happen. Ann Boyd and crew, we were going to have a riot. We're going to boycott, put it that way. So we got all on the corner of Baldwin Street and Congress Avenue. We were going to march down against Mayor Lee at that time for better housing. So what Freddie did was he split up the crew. The bad boys had to go downtown in the march. All the ones that were going to commit the bad trouble, the ones going to go, Kelly and Pickett, all of them, and Willie Council and all of them, Tommy Battles and all of them. So we all marching down the street. Freddie said, y'all go, and I'll catch up with you. But he wasn't by himself. He had a little crew around him. We said, y'all go and I'll meet you down there. So we all went downtown, got to City Hall. We're in there. We're making noise, pounding on the chairs and tables and going through and the place. And they wanted to know how they was going to handle us. And all of a sudden, here come Freddie. Freddie walked in. Everybody looked at the door. And all Freddie had to do was this. That's all he had to do. Because we knew that Freddie was E.F. Hutton. When he talked, everybody listened. But he was, everybody, like you said, you thought he was 8 feet tall, but he was that in the mannerism in which he carried himself. He was always smooth, always quiet, never loud, you know, always articulating, you know, what we had to do, where we had to go. And I'm not going to be too long, and I also have another engagement, but I did want to be able to say there, I wanted to say something about two things that brings a scenario. Everyone did not like Martin Luther King. The pastors thought that he should be quiet, you're starting trouble for us. And there was a situation in the air where we felt like, you know, trouble was going to. Everyone didn't like Malcolm X. Because they didn't want to deal with Malcolm. Everyone didn't want to deal with the Black Panthers because they seemed to be too radical. Everyone didn't want to be a Freddie Harris because what it was going to cost you a situation that you knew that was going to, you don't know what was going to happen. There's an analogy that if you go to a tennis court and a person can play tennis, but he hands you a racket, you go on one side of the court, that person that knows how to play tennis goes to the other side of the court. You on one side, he throws the ball up in the air, and he hits the ball over to you. The ball is coming so fast, you look at it. Another one comes, you look at it. Another one comes, you look at it. And after a while, you just feel they're coming too fast. It has the appearance that you look foolish being out there on the court until one time you decide that when that ball comes across, I'm going to at least swing at it. Sometimes we have to swing at it even if I don't hit it. There was a lot of things that happened during that time that where we were just standing and seeing all the retribution coming at us as a people. We were quiet. We were taking abuse. We were seeing what they was doing to us. But Freddie said, give me the racket. Let me go and get on the court. And when I get on the court, it ain't going to be about me looking at balls passing me. Even if I look funny at what I'm going doing, I'm going to raise my voice. I'm going to say something about the circumstances in the situation. A great man will stand up and not think about himself. He'll think about, what's going to happen to his people. I love my brother Scott X. I see now how his growth and all that he's come up in. Little Freddie, I heard all the great and wonderful things that he's done down south and maybe down south and across the country. And certainly the Muck family is true. The family was here in the city. But let me just say this here, and I'll sit down. If you choke a man, the question is this. How long would that man let you choke him until you said you choked me enough? Freddie stood up because he said you choked our people enough. I'm going to stand up until you get your hands off of us. And that you won't be able to put your hands on me again. So we respect anyone. We respect those warriors. He was a warrior. He stood up for us when sometimes no one else was willing to stand up. So I'm so grateful tonight, but here's my brother, and I'll sit down with this here. Ronnie Johnson had passed away over on New Hallville, and it was the last time I seen Freddie. And we went, I know I was over living on Thorn Street at that time. I said, Freddie's coming to town, and a couple more of us, and we went across town because we knew Freddie was going to do Ronnie Johnson's funeral. When we got there to the church wasn't really packed. It didn't really have a lot of people like they should have had. And we already waiting to see what Freddie got to say. And here's what he said. And I didn't know that he had converted and became a preacher man in his own right. He said, I'm here today. He said, I thought that this funeral room would be full of people for Ronnie Johnson because Ronnie Johnson was a fighter. He stood next to Freddie. And he said, I'm surprised that more people didn't come here to support, the great work that this man has done. And he said this here, what is the greatest position or the greatest position that a man can have in life? And everybody was waiting for him to say what it was going to be. He said the greatest position that a man can have is on his face before God. The greatest position that a man can have is on his face before God. And the greatest look that a family can have, or a community can have, a family can have, is walking by a room and seeing that man on his face before God who can handle all circumstances. We salute you tonight, Brother Freddie. We love you so much.
All right. Miss Doris Dumas, President of the Greater New Haven branch of the NAACP. How are you?
Good evening. I bring greetings on behalf of the Greater New Haven NAACP, our board, and all of our members. I am pleased to be here this evening to honor the life and legacy of Mr. Fred Harris. And I'm happy that we can do this while he can still feel and appreciate the love that we're giving him. Special acknowledgement to the Harris family and to my friend, Fred III and his wife, to the hard-working committee for thinking enough to do something so important in our city, to our state president, Mr. Scott X. Esdale, and my NAACP family, and to all of you who came out tonight. I know that most of you either know or you've been hearing over the last day about Mr. Harris's work and contributions. So I'm not going to repeat all of them, but I will say thank you. Thank you, Mr. Harris. You are a civil rights legend who paved the way, opened up doors, and demanded better for the Hill community, which also then spilled over to other communities. You are so deserving of this. Your courage, commitment, and passion to stand up and be a voice for those who were overlooked, those who were forgotten, and those who did not have a voice. The change was desperately needed. Thank you for advocating and demanding better conditions in the local schools, housing, health equity, health access, as well as summer jobs, summer camps, youth programs, and more. My grandparents lived on Horsey Street in the early 70s, so I'm a product of the summer camps and those youth programs, so I can personally thank you. The Hill Health Center was right in the backyard where my grandparents lived. You organized and held the city officials accountable to make the necessary changes that would improve the life of the citizens of the community. You did not take no for an answer because you demanded better for the community. And because you demanded better, it got better. And we are grateful. As the late Frederick Douglass said, power could seize nothing without a demand. So thank you for demanding. You exemplify Black leadership and Black power. Power to the people. We, myself, and all of the civil rights activists today, we stand on your shoulders. And we thank you for being a true soldier for civil rights, for equal rights, for equity, for uplifting and prioritizing the people in the inner city. You didn't talk about it, you were about it. And for that, we're grateful. Thank you for making so many wrongs right. I am truly inspired by you, motivated by you, and your legacy. And on behalf of the Greater New Haven NAACP, we salute you. Thank you, Mr. Harris.
All right, folks, we only have a couple more, so hang tight in there. Next, we're going to have Ms. Charmaine McAllister, Associate Director of Education, Community Impact, International Festival of Arts and Ideas.
Hello, everybody. I'm just so filled with love and warmth. And it's not about me. But working with Dr. Pam and Sophie and the team and Shannon and folks here at the museum, friends at the Beinecke, the New Haven Free Public Library, to see an idea of wanting to show love and give flowers finally coming to fruition. This started months ago. We've been on Zooms, we've met in person, we've been out in the streets getting, the petition signed for the street naming, calling people, hustling, and to see it all coming to fruition and to see y'all here in this room, it's amazing. It's really just the windows of heaven overflowing to just be here with you all, to be here on this weekend. This is the highlight of my week, and to see the Hill, this is 11 years of the Hill Neighborhood Festival. The Neighborhood Festival's at Arts and Ideas. And this is the first year I said, what y'all want to do? What's the theme? They said, we want to take back the Hill. I said, well, right on, let's do it. let's do what we need to do. And there's just been an amazing growth amongst all the neighborhood festivals. So we are proud to service the Hill, Newhallville, West Hills, West Rock, Fairhaven, and Dixwell. And this year we've done some looking at in history, diving into the Long Wharf community. But I'm just happy to be of service, to be able to see this coming together, to see so many members of the Harris family, friends from the Hill who came out and flooded it. There ain't a seat in this spot, and it wasn't a seat earlier. And it's just beautiful to see the outpouring of love. We're just here to serve and make sure that everything goes well for you all. Mr. Fred, I told you earlier, I hope you feel as special as you are, sir. With all that, on behalf of the International Festival of Arts and Ideas, we are happily and humbly glad to host you all, and we hope you're having a lovely time.
All right, up next we're gonna have Mr. Anthony Dawson, former New Haven Older, Chair New Haven Board of Police Commissioners.
Good evening. What a day this is. I go back with Fred when I was like 11 or 12 years old. When Donald talks about it, I was just a little kid running around the city. But I'm just gonna give, not to brag, but I just like to show some of the stuff that I did based on knowing Fred and watching him and Rose and what they did. When I was 16, I bought the house next door to Fred. He lived at 22 Ann Street. I now own 24, 26, and 28 Ann Street. I was the youngest person in America to buy a dollar house from the federal government through the city of New Haven. I then followed his lead, and I became the youngest elected alderman in the city of New Haven. Until this day, no one has surpassed me with passing over 200 pieces of legislation of things that Fred and the people in the Hill wanted to be introduced. And I did this because I saw a strong man. I stayed in contact with his son at the conventions. I watched the Esdell family. I watched many families in New Haven. The Monk family, I grew up there. And then I wanted to be the commissioner. I wanted to be the police commissioner. Because I grew up at a time where you had to make a decision whether you're gonna be a cop, a Panther, or just your individual self. And I wanted to be who I wanted to be, but I wanted what the Panthers wanted in terms of their messages and their mission, but I also wanted good cops. And that was my job. Ever since Malik died, I followed with Emma Jones and helped her, Freddie, and it wasn't easy. There was times that we got threats. There was times that I'm still armed. I'm an armed man right now. I always carry my piece. Because you can't play. And my partner, Fred, is the chiefs of police. When you're commissioner, you run the whole deal. And while I was chairman, there was a first African-American police chief at Yale, chief of police at New Haven Police Department, and the chief of the fire department, with Tony Hart being the first black female. I say that because that's powerful stuff, man. I was with Tom Joyner the last time he came, Scott. He said, this is sure enough the real chocolate city. But it's all because of what you did, Fred. And we admire you. And on top of that, on the housing, your house on Ann Street, I hope you get by to go get a chance to see it. It's the most newly renovated house on the street. It's a young entrepreneur whose parents own about 7 houses on Ann Street. And he's a young entrepreneur. His name is Clayton Henderson. And he's a dynamite young man. He fixed it from the top of the roof to the basement. And so you may want to just get over to just see it. The other thing I like to say is that I've been active with Scott and Dory in the NAACP, but I recently had to take on a mission that Dr. Curtis Cofield started. And he was with Dr. Sullivan out of Philadelphia saying that we as people have to invest our money together, not just in churches, but after church, we got to do some wealth and investments and pass the wealth on to our children. So, Dr. Cofield unexpectedly passed away, and he had an investment group at Emmanuel Baptist Church that was trying to build houses. And because of my expertise of 16 years on the board and thoroughly really knowing a lot about development in New Haven, they asked me would I chair and take Dr. Cofield's place as president of the organization. Well, I'm here to announce that I became the president. We are building 56 affordable houses, passive houses at that, where people do not have to pay any utility bills. There's no oil bill, there's no gas bill. UI company gave us $500,000, and by the time we put the sun sensors on the building, the tenants will not have to pay any utility bills. And I thank God for you, Fred, and I am too, your son, and that project cost $30 million. And we are putting it right up on Dr. Martin Luther King Drive and Legion in the Boulevard today. I hope to have some tenants in the building by September. And the good part about it is that we also did an economic development piece, which would allow us to have a bakery and a coffee shop so that we can also make money in the neighborhood and the families could benefit from having some money. So I say thank you very much, and it's because of you. And I used to come here as a child and read the things that you had in this building in Barnacle Square. And that was the times that we used to go over to Yale or anywhere else in New Haven. We could do that for free, but now we can't do that. But it was really fun and enjoyable coming here to read the things that was in this building about the Hill Parent Associations and the things that the people did in the Hill. And I am so grateful to be a Hill person. And I'm just asking permission. Can I slow down now? Thank you very much.
All right, next up we have Mr. Fred Harris III. Come on up.
I made a couple of comments earlier today and about our family. But before I do that, I want to ask Deshaun, come up here and stand right now. This is Fred Harris's grandson from Michigan. Tyler. This is Fred Harris's other grandson from Michigan. Earlier today, I just made a couple of statements about how the movement impacted the family. And oftentimes when we think about the movement and the leadership, we don't always understand the ramifications of how it impacted the children and the family. And so earlier I took some time to acknowledge my mother, Rose Harris, who was a significant contributor to the development of the Hill Health Center. And I also mentioned my sisters, Rhonda Harris, Madeira Harris, and Vanessa Harris, who can't be here today, but I hope they're watching. But I wanted to come up, I'm not gonna say much, but the one thing that stood out to me today that I wanted to correct the record on, about our family. We were freedom fighters, truth tellers, and I like the phrase that John Lewis uses about we got in good trouble. That's right. Right? In other words, the work and the advocacy that my family was involved in, it was based upon doing what was best for people. And sometimes we have to be a little more aggressive and assertive in doing that. And so I am proud to be a part of this family. I wanted to just come up quickly and mention my mother, who cannot be forgotten. She's no longer with us. May she rest in peace. And you know, New Haven, when I started looking at my research, Sophie, where's Sophie? Sophie's been brilliant in her research at Yale. I didn't realize that W.E.B. Du Bois's family was from New Haven. They used to live in New Haven.
Karen Du Bois is here now.
Adam Clayton Powell used to live in New Haven. New Haven has produced some giants in black power and black advocacy. And so I mention that because I believe that the work isn't done, and we are thankful as a family to the city of New Haven. No matter where we're at, no matter where we live, New Haven is always a part of our heart and our consciousness. And so thank you to the city of New Haven for honoring our family.
All right, next we're going to have Alder Ron Hurt. Come on up.
Good evening, everyone. If I was at my church, I would have everyone to stand to their feet. So why don't you just stand to your feet right now? And before we go any further, we're honoring a great man of God who fought for the right of his people. But he's serving a great big God now. For that, we're grateful. So why don't we just give God a great big hand praise for this occasion. And look at someone say, we still standing. All right, you can take your seats. So, you can look at me and tell that I'm not no young blood. I've been in this world for 52 years, and I moved here from Roanoke, Virginia, where my father was a World War II vet, and he had to fight to get his stripes. He took the United States Army to court. I'm one of 12. 9 boys, 3 girls. And it's always been a struggle. But we survived all the struggles that we've been through. Dr. Joyner said that he put on a cape and tried to fly. When my brothers were living in the projects, my brother put on the cape, and my older brother told him to jump out the window. And he jumped out the window and broke his leg. White man can't jump, black men can't fly. I want to thank Dr. Pamela Monk and Sophie for their hard work that they put into this event in getting Fred Harris to New Haven. I find myself doing a whole lot of speaking and bringing citations to individuals who done great things, but they stretched out before the altar. But today, it is indeed a pleasure and an honor and a privilege to present this citation to a living legend. Last night on the Board of Alders, yes, I'm still fighting for all those 200 pieces of legislation that my predecessor presented to the Board of Alders, and we still fighting. Last night we had to amend the mayor's proposed budget so that the people that look like us receive the services that we need. Not only that, we want to make sure that we also have affordable housing in this city. This is a part of my life. You know, what you see is what you get. I have no shame to all of my struggles, everything I've been through. But I lived in my car. I was homeless. Ended up living in the outreach house, which I helped develop for my church on Congress Avenue, while on the board of alders. Unemployed. I've been to Cornell Hill Health Center. I've been there. But all of it has made me who I am today. The good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifferent. That's what you see. And if that's part of Fred Harris, well, I am Fred Harris. Today, we got so much we got to fight for. I've been fighting all my life. Down in Roanoke, Virginia, watched police beat my brothers in front of my mama. Going to a system when they were dealing with mental health. But because of their skin, they were not privy to the psych help they needed. All this, Mr. Harris, you fought for in the Hill. And I'm so glad I'm a proud resident and the alder of the Hill. No better place to be or live. Amen. So today, the city of New Haven, we honor you. Yes. We honor you for your work. And we still doing the work you started. And this is an ongoing work. We don't stop. A lot of people feel like you retire, you slow down a little bit, so you stop. No. The book I read says, be faithful unto death. And I know I didn't come here to preach to you tonight, but if we're ever going to do it, we might as well do it. Be about it. And stop faking the funk. Get out there and let's do what we need to do to fight for our people. My heart is overwhelmed right now because you walk in the room, you see a rainbow of many different people. But these are the lives that you have touched. I don't know you personally, but I feel like I know you from all that I've heard from everybody and all that I've read. So tonight we honor you in the city of New Haven. Someone asked me, why did you become an alder? It was simple. It was for God. It was for my family. And it was for my community. No one should go to bed hungry. Everyone should have access to good health care. and there should be affordable housing for all those who need it. The Board of Alders official citation presented by the Honorable Reverend Ron C. Hurt. Be it hereby known to all that the New Haven Board of Alders hereby offers its recognition to Mr. Fred Harris in recognition of advocacy and activism in New Haven. I'm going to say it like this. It can get a little long reading these. Everything that's said in this citation has been said. Everything has been said. So I just want to put this personal touch on it. If God be my judge and allow me to live a little while longer, Mr. Harris, I just want to be a tenth of a man that you are. Big shoes to fill, a lot of lives to touch, a lot of hope to give, and a lot of peace to bring. Today, it's about you, Mr. Harris, and we honor you and the great work and the legacy that you have begun. It's not every day we can honor a great man such as you. But today is your day. Let's give it up for Mr. Harris. This official citation is signed by our board president, President Taisha Walker Myers, and our city town clerk, Michael V. Smart. And I want to say to you, yes, we are going to name the corner of South Frontage and Park, which is in the heart of my ward. And I want to say this, and the reason why I'm going to say this is because you're going to understand that we live in the shadow of Yale New Haven Hospital and Yale University. Nobody want to hear that. $40 billion endowment, the university, and the school is the third largest, the hospital is the third largest health system in America. We should not be suffering any kind of way in this city. And maybe some of you all living in your houses and got the fan car. I drive a little Nissan Rogue 2013. The windshield is cracked. Come on. I ain't mad at it. But today, in my profession, and I want this to honor you today. In my profession, I helped a young man who's dealing with co-occurring disorders. But today, he found sustainable, affordable housing. Yes. One life at a time. And we can do it. So I'm going to ask those who can, if we're going to name that street corner after Mr. Fred Harris. I was just informed just the other day that we still need 100 more signatures. I need some volunteers. I'm going to take this opportunity, if you don't mind, Mr. Harris. I need some volunteers to join me next week to go into Ward 3, and let's get these 100 signatures. Yes. Don't come here in your fancy suits and your nice attire, and don't come out there and walk the streets with me. So let's do this, y'all. He's one of our own. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
What day you
You get me any day. I'm open and I'm available. But this is what we're going to do, and we're going to make it happen for you. God bless you, and heaven smile upon you. Good night.
All right, we're going to have a short musical interlude by Miss Ella Gary.
Well, my heart was wrapped up in clover. The night I looked at you, I found a dream that I could speak to, a dream that can call my own. I found a dream to press my cheek to, a dream that I never known. Oh yeah, when you smile, you smile. Oh, within the spell was cast, and here we are in heaven. For you are mine at last. Oh yeah, thank you.
Okay, yes. All right, folks, I was reminded, folks, please don't leave yet because we have a surprise till the end of this. I won't spill the beans yet, but so please hang tight with us. We're almost done. And now, is this going to be the ceremony looking forward? Is this it? Beautiful. All right. All right.
When they were doing a lot of urban renewal, we would storm the meetings, even take the meetings over sometimes. We even took over a meeting at Yale University. We did a lot of things. I guess we might have been looked at as troublemakers because we weren't dealing with things the normal way. It wasn't that somebody was trying to become a politician or somebody wanted money. We wanted a voice. And we had, I forget what year it was, when we got, I think, $34,000 from the league. We built a park. We had a daycare, a camp with over 360 some children involved. We did a lot of positive things that were kind of overshadowed by the news media, and they would take everything out of context.
We had a group in the Hill called the Hill Parents Association, which was grassroots. We grew out of the hard concrete to try to bring some peace and justice, not only the Hill, but to the city. The first thing we battled was educational facilities in Hill. We were very successful with that. At the time, we worked with Audrey Keanu, who was at the follow-through program, and Jesse Bradley, who became the superintendent of schools.
Ordinary people.
Every now and then someone would tell me, oh, he's here, he's there. But he was a little man, but mighty. There you go. He was mighty. He was mighty.
One day
And now we'd like to have Mr. Fred Harris come on up and say a couple of remarks. Mr. Harris. All right. Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to thank the Lord because I know He made all this happen and touched the hearts of all these people that have worked so hard to put this together. Thank you for thinking about me after all these years. I always think about you. I'm a pastor, I'm an apostle, I travel around the world ministry, but the hill is always in my heart, has always been in my heart. The ministry that I'm in is called Inner Healing and Deliverance. And what it does, it's designed to touch people with damaged emotions, which all of us have. People read the Bible, they go to churches, they learn the word, and they pile it on top of damaged emotions. So they're religious, they don't have a relationship with Jesus. The power is with Jesus. In our ministry, we cast out demons. We've seen people healed of cancer, AIDS, the dead risen. God is real. I want to thank all those that from Detroit that came down, all those from, stand up. Those from our other churches, stand please. We have been ministering for over 50 years. We've seen the power of God. God was with me doing all these things and I didn't know it. We're a great people. All of you are great. But you're not great if you're not doing something to make it easier or better for other people. You gotta share yourself. My brother, you got our old house. I want to go, in Alderman, I want to go through the hill tomorrow. I know it's probably changed. It's not what it used to be. we did these things with grassroots people. There were no, well, we did have some Yale students that were involved. Some of the Yale students moved off campus into the hills, and they were there. And my sister, you got the number of John Wilhelm. I've been trying to run him down for 30 years. He was my brother. He was my brother. We done some great things, and we had some great people helping us. To my family, come together and stop fooling around. Stop fooling around. You ain't worth nothing if you ain't got no family. You ain't worth nothing. Stop being selfish and immature. Be a man, be a woman. Come together as a family. Put your odds out the way. Stop being selfish. You're not about nothing if you're not involved in something of value. And I just want to thank all of you for coming out. It's so good of you. It's like, I'm 85 years old. I didn't expect anything like this. Thank you so much. I don't want to take up your time. It was good of you to come out. Thank you. Scott, I love you, brother.
Finally, our last speaker of the evening is Dr. Pamela Monk Kelly, co-organizer of this event, co-chair of the Hill North Community Management Team, and overall awesome person.
Wow. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is Dr. Pamela Monk Kelly, co-chair, as he said, of the Hill North Community Management Team and the co-organizer of this event. Before we begin, I would like to express our deepest gratitude to a higher power for guiding us through this celebration. God said in the word, plant seed, and that was Kala. Then water it, and that was Sophie. And then God said, he will give you the increase. And he did just that. This is the increase tonight. So thank God. Thank God. However, the success of this evening wouldn't be possible without the incredible contribution of many. I want to express my sincere appreciation to all those who made this celebration possible. Your time, advice, and generous donations have been invaluable. To those who volunteered, your willingness to serve is truly a blessing. A special, very special thanks continues to go to Mr. Fred Harris, Jr. We are deeply honored by his presence tonight, especially considering his busy schedule. His dedication to the community and his unwavering fight for resources in the New Haven Public Schools are a true inspiration. We are presenting him with the key to the Hill, a traveling exhibit, a bust, and a street sign as a token of our immense gratitude. I would also like to extend a special thanks to Mr. Fred Harris III. His efforts ensured smooth traveling arrangements, insightful interviews, and lasting photo memories. His role as the conductor, because this is a train, we're moving. We already left the station this morning. That was the kickoff. and this here is another station, but he's the conductor of this weekend celebration. Has been so invaluable, and we thank you, thank you, thank you. As we celebrate Mr. Harris's legacy, our journey continues. We invite you to join us at Trowbridge Park tomorrow for the next leg of the activities. It's a wonderful opportunity to further honor Mr. Harris and the Hill Parents Association. We also had decided that we would do the signatures next Wednesday. And we can, if you're available, please see myself or Mr. Ron Hurt, Alder Ron Hurt, and we will be more than glad to let you, where's the meeting place? We want to say Thomas Chapel Church? Your church, okay, what's the address? 584 Congress Avenue, and we're gonna canvass the Ward 3 at 5 o'clock on Wednesday, okay? And so again, thank you once again to everyone involved. We look forward to truly a memorable weekend celebrating Mr. Harris's incredible contributions. Thank you, thank you, thank you.